This is Daybreak reaching you live from the nation's capital in Abuja. And now we'll be taking another look on this issue of APC convention as it approaches. February 26th is almost around the corner, a few weeks from now. And so we've seen a lot of, conflicts here and there. After a series of back and forth, the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC, has announced, yes, its convention, and it appears that this move is creating more crisis for the party than it already has. There are indications that delegates will be drawn from factions loyal to governors or most senior federal government officials or political office holders in the states without APC governors. Now, Dr. Ibrahim Dauda, an APC stalwart and one of the presidential hopefuls in the 2023 general elections, joins us here in the studio to talk about this. Well, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
I can see you physically, not virtually, even though my script says the otherwise. Now, this convention that we are expecting on February 26th, is that the best for the party, given that some of the members of that party have said that, look, hold on with this convention, is likely to be an explosion? So what are your own thoughts about this?
This kind of scenarios are not new to Nigerian politics. Each has a different dimension. But in everything we are doing today regarding politics, don't forget, everyone has to work towards a timetable, a timeline, which terminates somewhere. And compliance with that will either portray good or bad for the party. Whichever way we look at it, if you shift the convention, there are still going to be agitations. If you do it now, there are still going to be agitations. So what I will further recommend is more talks in terms of reconciliation and discussions should continue with different segments and members of the party across the country. Because the more you bring people together on the table and discuss with an open mind, the more you have, the more you close the gap in differences. That is one way to go. But conducting the convention in February 26th, if the reconciliation discussions and agreements are reached within the different sectors of the party, I think it will help the party to focus more on reorganizing its activities towards preparing for the primaries and the elections.
All right, now, are you confident that, this is another way of putting it now, that by the time the APC is done with its convention on February 26th, it would have been well positioned, to take on the battle in 2023?
Certainly. After the convention, you will have elected leaders of the party, whom will now focus on putting structures towards preparing the party for the various primaries that will be conducted to elect candidates at various levels, from the state level to the national level. And after that, of course, you are going to move into campaigns and then elections. So yes, after the conventions, the party will be better positioned.
But if you look at, you have the Tinubu camp now, for instance, who are saying that, look, we want a consensus, and if you look at other factions as well, the AMPP faction, the CPC faction, and there are other parties that came together to bring out the APC, all of these, factions here and there. And if you look at even the conflict in the states, how do you even, come about drawing up delegates, for that convention on 2026? On February 26, when you have in one state two different groups of delegates, how will that happen?
There are internal mechanisms within the party structures meant for that. That is why, if you look at the timetable, you'll see the convention. You will have appeal committees. You will have reconciliatory committees. There are different structures that have been set up within the party to manage any of such issues. Convention or no conventions, you are not going to remove disagreements and other, issues bothering on either candidates, aspirants, or interests of party members and party leaders. But what is more important is when you have a structured leadership of the party, at least you've succeeded in putting one aspect of the problem to rest. Consensus, it's is one of the, agreed way of candidates to emerge, aside conduction of party primaries. If the party can sit down and have a consensus among aspirants and agree, or they all agree, that we will all drop our ambition and support Mr. or Miss A or B, it's an agreed method. Or if they could not agree, okay, let's go to the primaries and everybody tests their popularity within the community of party members nationally. The contention is the issue of delegates, manipulation, factions management at the state level, sometimes at the local government level, at the national level. That is why I said the national leadership, once elected, have certain mechanisms within the party that is meant to resolve those issues. And remember, there is already a reconciliation committee that is working by the other side, trying to bridge the gap as much as possible of those issues surrounding the party at various levels. So there will be a convergence of all this after the convention, which will, straighten up a lot of issues along the way.
Okay, so will previous court cases against the APC's national leadership in any way affect the convention?
Well, issues that are legal have their own implications. Unless there is a court pronouncement towards that, I'm sure the party leadership is looking at all those things when they announce the date for the conventions. And I know there are a lot of consultations going on, there are a lot of discussions going on. And at the end of the day, they are going to reach some certain level of agreement on how these matters will be resolved.
All right, now let's get other perspectives to this. Virtually now, joining us, the leader of the Progressive Youth Movement, Prince Mustafa Audu. Hello, Mustafa. Good morning and welcome to Daybreak.
Good morning. How are you doing? Glad to be
Thank
here.
you for joining us on the show
Good morning
today.
to His Excellency Dr. Ibrahim Dada.
All right,
well.
so let's
Always
also
great
begin with
listening
your
to him.
own thought about the proposed convention of the APC, which is going to take place February 26th.
Hello?
A lot of chieftains
hear
of
me?
your party have expressed, some reservations about the convention coming up on the 26th. What are your own thoughts? Do you have any fear?
I don't know if you can hear me. I'm still connected, but maybe there's a delay.
Okay, well, we'll reconnect back with Prince Mustafa Audu there to give us his own perspectives. But we have, yes, we've been speaking with Ibrahim Dauda, Dr. Ibrahim Dauda, an APC stalwart who is here with us in the studio. Now, if you may continue with your thoughts, about this 2023 elections, how do you think that the reconciliation committee of the APC will be able to achieve success if you look at what all the factions are bringing to the table? I mean, we've said over and over that the APC is a merger of, very strong opposition parties back then in 2013 that came together. So how can they achieve success in this move to ensure that, party members are reconciled properly and, their concerns are attended to?
If you look at how APC came to be, it was a merger of CPC, ANPP, ACN, APGA, and other groups. If the party could survive the merger process, 2014, 2015, when they were parties apart, and then dropped their interests to come together towards a common interest, I think those leaders who managed the merger processes are still in the system.
Are they?
And they are. They are.
There are people who were signatory to
They are.
They are no longer in the party.
Of course, there are people who are not here now, who were there then, who are signatories to the merger process, who are not here. But largely, a lot of the leaders who were there then are still here today. And I believe with all that is happening, looking at our political history, a lot of issues that were even more challenging than this have faced parties, and they always evolve. They always evolve. So no matter the level of challenges, my belief is at the end of the day, conventions will be done, leadership will emerge, discussions will hold, and reconciliations will be effected. Of course, you cannot appease everybody. You cannot please everybody. You cannot satisfy the interests of everyone. But largely, the party will subsist.
Okay. All right. Well, let's connect. Let's try to connect back to Prince Mustafa Audu, who is the Progressive Youth Movement leader, joining us virtually. Okay, it appears that we still have some technical hitch there connecting with Prince Mustafa Audu. So now, how would you react to those who say, the Tinubu group, for instance, that say he has to be, the candidate for the party in 2023 elections, and then you have, other groups who are also disagreeing that, look, let it be an open space for everyone to contest. The Tinubu people are saying, let's have a consensus, on this. And then you have this issue of zoning, in the party as well. From what we've gathered, it has been zoned to the north central region of the country. Can you clarify on that?
Well, there are a lot of, statements, but the party is the only body that can officially say, this is the position. People outside can only speculate or insinuate things. Candidature of a party, there are different mechanisms on how aspirants become candidates. Like I said, consensus is one of them. Every intending aspirant will have certain ways of pushing themselves or strategizing in order to emerge as candidates, either by pushing towards consensus, or if it could not work, you go for the primaries. It's a democratic process where everyone, as long as you satisfy the criteria, 1, to become a party member, 2, to partake in electioneering processes in Nigeria, you have equal right with everyone. Now, the processes that will determine who becomes the candidates are outlined by law. And there are flexibilities that allows issues like the consensus we're talking about. It purely depends on the strength of the aspirant, the network of the aspirant, the disposition of the political party, and the members of the party all over the country, and his ability to convince people that he is the right person or they are the right people. So there are a lot of things that goes into one emerging as a candidate.
One is wondering that if our party politics is the way it is now, how do we even ensure that we get the right leaders that can be able to lead this country out of what it is currently having right now?
It is, a lot of people see politics as a complicated process, or party politics to qualify it. It is complicated, at the same time it is not. Like I said in different forums, wherever you have individuals or collection of people whom are working towards achieving an objective, you're going to have difference of opinions, disagreements, either on beliefs, approach, methodology, or concept, or even ideologies. But what is important is the central leadership that will display that sense of maturity, understanding of the processes, and above all, tolerance. And then what is critical in every human organizational process is the ability to manage people justly, honestly, and fairly. Because one of the major reasons of disagreements that transit to, either violence or refusal to resolve issues is injustice, or when someone is treated unfairly. So going forward, the political party, not only APC, the parties in general in this country, the leadership should always try as much as possible to be tolerant, sensitive to people's interests, beliefs, and treat every individual fairly. What is creating a lot of problems is interest. If I will, trample on someone's interests to suit my own interests because I happen to be in a position of influence, definitely I will push that person to react in such a way that it may not be, positive to the system. So they should do their best at all levels to have this, embedded in the leadership structure. And this cuts across all spheres of human management, not only in the party level. Government, public sector, private sector, even at the family units. If you're unjust to a particular set of people in your family, you are definitely going to breathe hatred in the family.
Okay.
Distrust.
Okay, if you talk about justice in the party politics, we have scenarios where people are, joining the APC, and then within the next few weeks, they are occupying positions that people who have been there in the party, laboring for the party, are not occupying. All of a sudden, someone joins the party and then he becomes the leader of the party. Where does that leave the chairman of the party before the joining of this same person that I'm talking about. So, for instance, right? So, how do you talk about justice in this sense? Because it's part of the reasons why we've had this, issues. The governors of each state trying to exercise that dominance and control on parties, and meanwhile you have these other people who have been in the party, struggling and suffering for the party to build the party and all of that. How do you ensure justice in this scenario?
Our political structure in this part of the world is mostly, if you compare our system with that, let's say UK and United States, people don't shift anyhow, because parties are institutions that are based on certain principles, ideologies, and philosophies. That is why you have manifestos. One party's manifesto is different from the other political party. That is what separates or differentiates the parties. Now, if I'm in APC because I believe in the ideology and the philosophy and agenda of APC, that is what I believe in, for instance, then what will make me leave the party? We as party men have to, first of all, to manage these problems, have to go back to the basic reasons why parties are being formed in the first place. Parties project ideologies and beliefs, which, are sold to the people in order to elect that party, because people elect political parties and candidates of those political parties based on what those parties and candidates sell to the people in terms of programs, visions, beliefs, principles, and every other thing that will add value to the system. You don't see a Republican easily crossing to the Democrat. You don't see that easily. You don't see the Conservative moving to the Labour Party in UK.
So why is ours different?
You see, their system have transited to a level where it is beyond individuals. It has really evolved into a system of its own.
But would there come a time where we get to that point?
We are working towards there. But you cannot get there unless the individuals in the party, and this cuts across board, is part of our major problem as a people in this country. If you move away from the party structure today and look at organizations, look at every association, union, organization across this country, the same problem is there. It's an individual problem which we as a people have to change. That issue of selfish interest and patriotism has to come to play here. Because no matter how highly placed an individual is, as long as they do not believe in disconnecting their personality or their interest from the common interest, we are going to have problems. So the party system is evolving, but the party members and leaders have to go back and ask themselves, is it about my personal interest or is it about the interest of my country?
Okay. Now, with the internal crisis happening in the party, do you foresee like a sort of change in the February 26th date fixed for the convention?
Well, the dates have been fixed, and you have to write INEC 28 days or so before the date. Even though the party deserves the right to now come back, maybe for one or two reasons after wide consultations, if it is not feasible, to now say, okay, we are now shifting. But on what basis? Consultations have to be made, discussions have to be done, and agreements have to be reached among party members and stakeholders and leadership of the party for that to happen. You don't just wake up and say we are shifting this based on, just because we want to do it. There may be very, very serious reasons that will be advanced to convince the party members, leaders, and then the supervising, the umpire, which is INEC.
All right. Now, how would you deal with this issue that I raised earlier about having two different factions coming for the convention on that day? How would you deal with that?
It has happened in the past in different parties. The reality is the reality, no matter what you do, because we as Nigerians have not removed, like I said, personal interest from processes and national interest. We have not successfully disconnected our personal interest from national interest. We push our personal interests most at times beyond national interest.
Yes.
So when you have two factions, the party structure has mechanism of dealing with that. Each primaries process that is going to be conducted at every level, there are rules, there are laws, right from the Electoral Act, which INEC is managing.
Have we shown that we are people of rules?
Because
if we are to go by the constitution of the APC, this shouldn't even happen in the first place.
Of course, but
because people are breaching the rules.
Like I told you, why you have crisis is because certain individuals put personal interest above national interest. That is why you have crisis. If everybody will do that, we will not have it. So at that time, when that happens, definitely it will come at a stage. But I said earlier on that there is a reconciliatory committee, which is one of the key organs of the party that is vested with the responsibility of managing such issues. And I'm sure they are taking count already of such states where those are prevalent. And they are fashioning out methodologies of how to deal with them.
All right, let's get other perspectives to this. We'll join virtually now leader of the Progressive Youth Movement, Prince Mustafa Audu, to give us his own perspectives. Hello, Mustafa, are you there?
Hi, good morning once again. I hope you can hear me this time.
I've been hearing you. Maybe you are not hearing me. All right, so if you can hear me, let's get your own thoughts about the proposed convention of the APC come February 26. Do you have any fears at all?
To be honest, I'm quite happy at least we've come to the point where we're having a convention. The Progressive Youth Movement is an APC support group determined to make sure that at least our leaders, carry young people along. It's high time that we're part of the process. So the February 26th date, we believe will happen. We don't believe that there's any reason to move it. It's been difficult getting this date. We've taken almost 20 months to arrive here, and we're running out of time. So just like Dr. Ibrahim said, His Excellency, if there is a cogent reason, then it should be presented, and maybe it can be moved to a day or two, whatever be the case. But I don't think that there's any reason right now that it should be moved. We've come a long way to get this. Everybody's eager to get this going and out of the way, because in all honesty, all of the whole country is watching. Nigerians are watching. So they're saying if the APC cannot manage its own internal affairs, then how can it manage a country? So it's good for us to present a united front. And like you were saying earlier about reconciliation and the court cases, we're also one of the groups that have a case in court, but our case was about the convention. So now that there is a convention, we look forward to withdrawing that case. We want one united party going forward, and reconciliation, internal mechanisms, things like that, if used properly, will arrive at that. All of us want to win. Every well-meaning APC member wants to win the forthcoming elections and deliver a better Nigeria. So the
All right,
internal
now there's a
wranglings that we're
struggle of
having is quite
relevance here.
important,
When you
but
look at the
come the
factions in the
convention, I
party,
believe
the
there'll be a way
Tinubu
to
camp
level
on the
things
one
going
hand
forward.
is saying that, look, there has to be a consensus method of nominating candidates in that convention. And on the other hand, the CPC faction of the APC also want to maintain its relevance in the party. So how do we resolve this? A lot of discussions about 2023 beat, for the kingmaker, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who wants to be king now. So how do you resolve this?
To be honest, it's all about dialogue. Everything that happens in politics, if done properly, you can always negotiate. Like our constitution says, there's more than one method of arriving at the decision of who the candidates are or who will be the chairman or secretary or any other position. Consensus is part of it, but it should be done properly. It shouldn't be done in a way that a list is just produced and then it's forced down everyone's throat. That will cause rancor. Instead, people have sacrificed a lot, they've given a lot, they've used up their resources. A lot of people have been running for these chairmanship positions. So if there is going to be a consensus, it's better to call everyone together and say, this is the consensus, this is the reasons why we're having consensus. Let's have this person as the person that is presented. And if everybody agrees to step down for the person, that's fine. If not, there should be another way. And if they cannot resolve, then they should be allowed to compete. To be honest, us as young people, I don't think we really mind who president or chairman is. All we care about is who can give us as young people what we want, who has the capacity to deliver. We believe we're going to set matrices and criteria for us to measure who will best represent us so that we can support the person. So I think that's the best way forward. So it's a party where a collection of people who want the same goal or similar goals. So let's find a way to streamline it, allow everybody to express themselves honestly. And if there's any issues, then I think it should be resolved through dialogue. That's the best way forward. But any other way, imposition, would cause rancor. So there's a difference between consensus and imposition. So as long as we toe the line of consensus, which has to do with dialogue, conciliation, rather than imposition, which is forcing people down other people's throats, I think there won't be a problem, to be honest.
All right, now you talk about young people, not really being concerned. Young people just want a representation. What kind of representation are you looking up to, for young people? At what level? I thought the young people would be interested in the seat of power as well.
To be honest, the bedrock of our democracy is the political party. So what we are interested in as APC members, because I'm an APC member, I'm a loyal APC member, what we're interested in is the NWC positions. There are about 27 available, and as young people, we're looking for 12, which is two per geopolitical zone. Um, Anyone who understands politics and has been in politics for a very long time knows that without a hold on the political party, you most likely not go anywhere. So young people need to understand the importance of being part of the political process through involvement of the political party. So we're determined to involve ourselves in that process because electioneering the process is it's like a supermarket, on election day. So it's what is on the shelf that you can buy. So if you have products that are not good on the shelf, then the electorates are only going to vote in a bad product. So we have to refine that process of bringing out those candidates. So this is why we feel it's critical for young people to be involved. This is the first time young people are making a deliberate move. We're going around the country. We just came back from Calabar over this weekend, and we had our South Town Hall meeting, sensitizing young people, especially the APC members, on the importance of the upcoming convention, of the importance of being part of the process. So our leaders, our elders are free to find consensus in their positions, but us as young people, we're very happy to compete because we feel competition brings out the best of us. We finally, for the first time, we want the best set of young people representing us so that we show our true capacity and our true potential. And honestly, APC is the only platform we can have that. I remember when I was on the show a few months ago, and we had said, we're starting our own faction. We named February 26th as our convention date. And here we are today. We have February 26th as our convention date simply because APC is the only party that young people can stand up and say, we want this, and we're honest about it, and our leaders would be able to listen and align. It's been a rocky road getting here, but here we are with an alignment. So this is what we insist on, a leader that can carry us along.
You talk about 12 seats of the NWC. Isn't that too much to ask? That's about like 50-50 kind of. Is that not too much to ask, really?
No, it's not 50-50. They have 15, we have 12. 27, sorry. They have 15, we have 12. Well, it's two per geopolitical zone. So we're not saying 50-50. And all of these positions are all deputy positions. None of them are substantive positions. So it's like a deputy treasurer, a deputy publicity secretary, deputy treasurer, things like that, just so that we can understudy our leaders. For the first time, there needs to be a proper transition process. Our leaders need to stop working in silos. They need to carry young people along so that there's a 50-year plan, a 100-year plan, a 200-year plan. The only way to achieve this, the only way to accomplish this is by taking young people along without us being part of the political process in real leadership positions. We don't want PAs and SAs. Honestly, those are like glorified houseboys. They do nothing. We want real leadership positions, real opportunities. We don't want to do away with all the older people. No, experience is critical. You need it. There are a lot of fine older people, Nigerians, that love the country and have done so much over the years. So you cannot do away with them. But the way it is that there's no inclusion of competent young people in leadership position, it's not good enough. And APC is about to change that. And that is how APC is going to win the 2023 general elections. For the first time, the electorates are going to see APC, a party, produce young, competent candidates in many positions. And people will begin to believe.
Thank you
so
for the
much.
thoughts. Very interesting thoughts
Very,
there.
very interesting.
That was Prince Mustafa Audu, the Progressive Youth Movement leader. And we still have in the studio Dr. Ibrahim Dauda, an APC stalwart himself. Now, briefly, let's get your own reaction to this. I mean, it's time for the youth, isn't it? And do you think that this is an opportunity for the APC to make a statement, especially regarding, the whole advocacy that we've always heard about youth inclusion and all of that?
Yes, it's true. APC, it's a party that believes in the realities of time. And if you look at Nigeria today, it's supposed to be a youth-driven society. Even though, in all honesty, the youths, you may say in some quarters, have not been responsive enough.
Responsive in showing interest in the politics?
Not only in showing interest, but in working hard enough towards being where they are supposed to be in terms of teamwork, coming together, and going as a block. In as much as the system wants change, I believe we need to encourage the youth of this country to understand that if there are agitations of being inclusive or inclusion in power or politics, one of the cardinal positions we need to take is, first, we need to unite ourselves. We need to understand that we are one.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much. We have to end this now because of our time. Thank you so much for joining us on the program today and sharing your thoughts with us. We appreciate your coming.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Well, We've been speaking with Dr. Ibrahim Dauda, an APC stalwart, and also joining us virtually, leader of the Progressive Youth Movement, Prince Mustafa Audu, ahead of the APC convention come February 26th. Very interesting.
You know, his last statement caught to me. We don't want to be glorified houseboys. Really? That was very, very interesting.
Yes, very interesting, really, because it's more like it, isn't it? All right, with that, we've come to the end of the show for today. In case you've missed, you can always catch up on our YouTube and also connect with us via our social media handles. My name is Ayuba Ilya.
And I'm Zainab Bala. Thank you so much for watching.
Bye.